Nathan, and thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us about the newly launched but much anticipated HL Savings and Resilience Barometer. I know you've been involved at every stage of the development. So tell us, what is the HL Savings and Resilience Barometer and why have we created it?
Well, the barometer came about really because of our focus on trying to drive improved financial resilience. I guess if we take a step back, middle of last year, we produced a whole load of content that was designed to take the expertise that we have in our advice area and almost trying to democratize that knowledge that they have to give some tips to people to help them better manage their personal finances. So we called that 5 to Thrive. It focused on 5 key areas for focusing on your financial resilience. So that was controlling your debt, making sure that your family's protected if you die or can't work, having enough rainy day savings, planning for later life, and investing to make more of your money. So this all was put together last year, and then we just kind of wanted to take things one step further. So we were looking at all the research that was out there, and what we found was that there's loads of great insight on all of these different areas in isolation, but there wasn't really anything that pulled it together, looking at kind of a holistic way in terms of how each of these individual factors sort of play off against one another. So we then sort of looked to build a barometer, a way of measuring the financial resilience of the nation, and that's where the barometers come from.
So as an example, some households may have sufficient cash savings for a rainy day, but the same household could be underfunding their pension. With this comparison tool, households are able to compare their resilience to other households nationwide, enabling them to identify areas of vulnerability and prioritise them. However, it sounds quite an ambitious task. How did you begin to tackle it?
So I guess the quick answer to that is that we got some help. So we obviously have a lot of expertise from a financial planning perspective and insight around those areas. What we wanted to do was partner with someone who was an expert in the delivery of the economic side of things, and actually the creation of an index. And that's where we partnered with Oxford Economics. So they were very helpful, and we worked together and we built out this barometer. Under those 5 key headings, we identified 17 different indicators that we thought could help us really get to the bottom of household financial resilience, and that came from a number of different data sets.
You mentioned data sets. Can you expand on that? What's plugged in behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I guess the 2 main things come from the Office for National Statistics. So they have their Wealth and Assets Survey and their Living Costs and Food Survey. So those are really substantial, regular surveys of the population to help understand about their wealth and their cost of living. So we've taken those 2 and sort of blended those together to get the data in to allow us to do this analysis. But as well as that, we brought in sort of 13 different data sources from other areas. So that includes work on, for example, the Pension and Lifetime Savings Association has done a lot of work on how much people need to have a minimum, moderate or comfortable lifestyle when they get to retirement. We've used some research from Glassdoor to look at how long people are typically out of work when they're made redundant. And what we've done is to try and sort of package all of that together to take the best insights from different areas, the best research, to all feed into the design of our barometer.
Sounds extensive. So now that we know that the methodology is robust, who should be using this comparison tool?
So, I mean, we're looking to sort of bring attention to this subject more widely. So we're sort of talking about this as a subject and using the barometer to help shine a light on areas of perhaps poor resilience in households. But in terms of the comparison tool, we've set that up to help, I guess, people who are curious about how they maybe stack up with their own financial resilience to see, how households of a similar age or a similar income bracket can help them compare. So it's almost to sort of frame how you sit relative to other households.
Timing-wise, financial resilience has never been more important, with the UK coming out of the pandemic, an increased cost of living squeezing our household finances. In your opinion, what are some of the most interesting trends that have been revealed in this first round of data?
So a lot of the information that came out of the barometer are the kind of things that you'd expect to see. So, for example, higher income households tend to be better off than more financially resilient than lower income households. But there are other areas that are quite interesting. So, for example, the self-employed tend to lag behind on pension savings, but they tend to also have more assets outside of the pension, more likely to own their own home. So they have other ways potentially of funding their retirement. Another interesting trend is that from a debt perspective, what you tend to find is that wealthier households tend to take on more debt. They're more likely to have variable debt rather than sort of fixed rate levels of debt, and that's quite important because it makes them slightly more vulnerable to things like interest rate rises, which we're probably expecting to see this year as we see sort of inflation continue to be at higher or elevated levels. So those are the key things, but there's a lot of the information in there as you'd expect around single parent households really sort of are struggling with their financial resilience.
Last question, what's next for the barometer?
So we didn't want this to be a one and done. We want this to be a commitment to measuring this ongoing. So the plan is to reproduce this work every 6 months, and what we're looking at is what new insights we can bring each time, and critically what we're looking to do is explore the differences or the relationship between these variables. So the example you used earlier, if someone's pension planning is all of a sudden if the UK's pension planning is sort of improving because of auto enrolment, that's great, but is there areas of detriment as a result? For example, does it impact on their rainy day savings or the amount of surplus income they have? So lots of interesting things to explore. We're kind of right at the start of the journey, but it's an exciting thing to focus on, I think, for the years ahead.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to hear that we'll be capturing and refreshing the data biannually. The insights will become more and more valuable, as you say, as that picture builds over time. And HL will be raising awareness of those behaviours that are identified in the data, looking to increase the financial resilience of households across the UK. The HL Savings and Resilience Barometer is now available online for you to use to find out how your household financial resilience compares to others nationwide. Thank you for listening.